So I'm at Actful, and this guy's like, there's a secret feature on Extempore. And I'm like, no, there isn't a secret feature. He's like, yeah, the one where, there's like or something like that. And I'm like, that we don't have it. Oh my God. Timers. They make us do some pretty crazy things. Whether we're just trying to cross the street, get to the post office on time, or submit a proposal where we only have 2 days left, we feel pressured by timers, as we should. Now, just imagine being a student trying to take a timed assessment, but it's also in another language. Our topic for today's blog breakdown, timers on Extempore.
Hey everyone, it's Grant. I'm Extempore's community manager. We are back with another blog. When most people hear about Extempore and its timers, we often hear conversations like this.
So I heard you started using Extempore, Grant. What do you think about it?
Oh, I love it. The first thing I did with my students was a timed assessment. I gave them 10 seconds to review the prompt and 10 seconds to respond. But then afterward, they just kept telling me how nervous they were.
Now, to be fair, part of the blame is on us for that. When we showcase Extempore and we show everything that it can do, timers are one of the big things that we like to put on display because they're such an important part of the platform. But the thing is, there are some important tips that you should heed before going in and using those timers. The first one of those tips, don't use them right away. So what do we do if we don't use them right away? Well, we build confidence with our students with the platform, Extempore, and the content that we are doing in our classroom. Here, you're gonna see 4 different examples that I have in building student confidence with the platform from Extempore 101 all the way up to a high stakes assessment that uses timers as they're designed to be used. Let's check it out. First, you see Extempore 101. I've talked about this platform a lot in previous posts, about this assessment a lot, And what this is very basic. It's an assessment for students to do on Extempore, on their phone, on their tablet, laptop, whatever it might be, to get comfortable with the platform. What does that mean? Well, if I click into the first one, you'll see this is just a very basic question. It's a text question. What are you looking forward to learning this school year? Assuming that you're giving it at the beginning of the year, the student can then respond, right? And as the student will see, I'll click into each one of these, the student has different types of prompts that they can respond to. So an audio prompt, and then question 3 has a audio prompt attached with a text prompt. Question 4 is someone that might look pretty familiar to you. It's going to be a video question that the student can play and then respond to as well. And then finally, the last prompt has the timers, but again, this isn't a high stakes assessment. It's just to show the student, hey, assessments can have timers attached to them. This one is a single attempt. They can click start, and then they can see, I don't have to do this, but the student can see how the timers work, what a high stakes assessment looks like on Extempore before you actually give them a high stakes assessment and they don't know anything that's going on. So you'll see here, this is an example of a high stakes assessment. I can start responding now. I click stop recording and I'm done. And the student can see, oh, okay, this is how a high stakes assessment would work on Extempore. That's step number 1. Give them Extempore 101, have them do it so that you can see, okay, hey, this is how the platform works. I see that I can have different types of responses. I see that I can have different types of prompts. And then this is, okay, I'm finally understanding how the platform works. Now though, okay, it's the first week of school and now I can start doing some speaking practice. Well, you see here, you come into the description, you see, okay, you have some questions. Number 1, really basic, the student then goes in and they introduce themselves in the target language. All right, so introduce yourself in target language, saying as much as you can. I can record myself here. If it's, say, not a Spanish 1 or French 1 or level 1 class, they can introduce themselves. The second prompt here has an audio prompt attached to it, and the student can respond to this question appropriately in the target language. Again, we are working on building up student confidence and comfort with the platform and the content in order for them to be able to respond and do the best that they can without having any anxiety or worries attached to it. Okay, so you've done Extempore 101, then you do the week 1 speaking practice. Now week 2. Let's do a little bit more of an assessment to get an idea of where our students are with the content. To reiterate, we've done Extempore 101 in the week 1 speaking practice in order to build comfort and confidence within our students regarding both the platform and the content that they're learning in class. So if we go to week 2, we can see a few more examples of building student comfort and confidence on both the platform and in the classroom. Click on this and we can see a whole bunch of different questions within a given assessment. Question 1, for example, shows some audio for the student to listen to and deciding which sentence is true based on the picture. And then the second question has more audios and the student has to decide which one is false based on the picture. These are all high quality listening multiple choice assessments that you can do. And so the student would go through and do 1, 2, 3, and 4 until they hit number 5. And here they'll say, oh wow, I finally have my first lockable question that I can respond to. So I click OK. It's got a minute to review and 5 minutes to respond. And the student says, all right, well, I'm not getting graded. This isn't a summative assessment, just a practice for me to do to see where I am right now. I click OK. Student comes in, they say, oh, okay, it's just a free talk. I just have to say as much as I can about this image in the target language. Do your best. All right, so I see the image. I have a whole lot of things that I can say about this. I click record. And then the student can get started and can speak and say however they much. Okay, Wei Ming has lunch at 12, and all of his friends have lunch at 12. It looks like Xiaobai really likes chemistry, and Xiaoping is a huge fan of literature class. So obviously the student would say a lot more than that, but that's a very, very basic free talk that they can do to not only show their proficiency in the target language, but also get a feel of how the timers function within Extempore. So now you'll see I can submit my attempt and go back to my leftover assessments and see what we have left for week 3. So we've done Extempore 101, we've done the basic speaking practice, and now we finally even did an assessment with a timed question added into it. Well, now I say, okay, I've taught enough. I want to do a high stakes assessment. I feel like my students are comfortable. And that's what it takes though. It takes time for them to grow comfortable with both the content that you're teaching, as we know, but also with the platform that you're using to assess their proficiency. So these 2 questions are both timed. I can click in and see, wow, I have 30 seconds to review this first one and 3 minutes to respond. I can click OK. Here you'll see this is mediation. So the student has to mediate and listen to a prompt and then respond. I've done videos on this before where you have to interpret, right? You're interpreting the target language and you're showing you can interpret that via English or whatever your shared language is. Here I'll make a note though. You'll see that this timer doesn't start counting down until this prompt is played all the way through. Now, I'm not going to do this prompt, but you can see here, I click start. The student can listen to the response. And once that plays all the way through, you'll see that the timer will start counting down and then the student can respond in the target language. I'm going to get intentionally locked out here. That's okay. And we can come to the second prompt. We'll see again, this is a lockable question that the student can then respond to. So time to review, 10 seconds, time to respond, 45 seconds, minimum response time of 5 seconds. This question allows a single attempt. The student by now has had enough practice where they can say, okay, all right, I'm good. I feel comfortable with this. I've done enough practice. And maybe if you feel as a teacher that they haven't, give them more practice beforehand. But the student now says, okay, I feel good about this. I'm ready to go. I see my parameters. What do I have to do? I click in, and now all they have to do, they listen to the audio. And then again, once that audio finishes, the time to review will start counting down.
看起来 STMA 的数学课好难。
Hits the end, and then that time to review starts counting down, and the student can respond appropriately. But once that time to review hits 0, you'll see the 3, 2, 1, and then the student can start speaking. This is my response. I am a student answering the question. Now you'll also see here we have that little minimum response time. That means, as you saw, that stop recording will not light up until the student hits that threshold of 5 seconds, or however long you wish it to be, in order for them to stop recording. Click submit attempt, and I'm done. I felt a lot better doing that question because I had practice both with Extempore 101 as well as with the other assessments that my instructor gave me beforehand in this class. When we use timers on Extempore, we want to be intentional with how we use them, which is why when I write in the blog, I have 3 things that proper use of timers will facilitate. 1, it will elicit spontaneous unprepared responses in the target language. 2, replicate the authentic assessment environment of AP or stamp assessments, for example. And 3, it will provide an appropriate challenge, whether input or output based, for students who are already comfortable with the target language at hand. We want to be purposeful and deliberate when we use these timers. They're not, like I said earlier, they're not toys. We don't want to use them arbitrarily, right? And as with anything else we do in our classrooms, we have purpose when we use these. As you saw earlier, we're not ourselves when we're under time constraints, and neither are our students. We need to take that into account when using Extempore, as it is a valuable platform, but only when our assessments are used properly and purposefully. Within this video, in our blog breakdown, you saw a host of different assessments from Extempore 101 to some practice assessments with listening and reading and responding with text. Use those assessments before giving high-stakes summative assessments. That's how we build comfort with our students, with the content and the platform that they are doing and using in the classroom. As an added tip, check out the accommodations feature that we have at the bottom of the teacher portal, where if you scroll down, you see your student roster, you can configure added time and accommodations for students with those needs in an IEP or a 504 plan. I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to like on our channel and subscribe to our channel for more of our content, and we will see you next time.